What if everything we've been told about autoimmunity is wrong? I'm Elizabeth Yarnell. After awakening partially blind one morning in 1999, a doctor told me my multiple sclerosis would put me in a wheelchair within 10 years. I refused to accept that as the end of the story, so I started investigating. Welcome to the Inflammation Investigator, the podcast that uncovers the inflammation lurking underneath your ailments. Because autoimmune and chronic conditions should not be viewed as death knells when they are actually alarm bells. I'm a traditional naturopath and founder of the Inflammation Academy. And in 2 episodes every week, we dig into what conventional medicine might be missing. If you're living with chronic or unexplained symptoms, this investigation is for you. Your body has been trying to tell you something. Let's start listening. Hi, and welcome back to today's episode of the Inflammation Investigator. Today, we're going to talk about something maybe you've never heard of before. This is a vitamin, but not one of our regular pantheon of vitamins that we talk about all the time. But my guest today is an expert in this particular vitamin. And maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. So you're going to want to stick around. Today, we're going to be talking about vitamin G, which is also known as glutathione. And we are going to be talking to Dr. Gina Nick. She is a naturopathic physician, researcher, wellness educator, and the world's leading expert on glutathione. She's also the founder of Vitamin G Glutathione Pixie Sticks, an innovation designed to make glutathione accessible in a joyful and simple format. With a dedication to holistic wellness, she's known for her expertise in treating a wide range of health concerns, from autoimmune diseases to addiction recovery, anxiety, and more. Dr. Gina, welcome to the pod.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, me too, because this is not something that we talk about in every day. And if you are not a health trained professional in some way, you might not really even know what glutathione is. You might maybe have heard it bandied about, but I think a lot of people really don't would be hard pressed to define it and to even understand what it does. So before we get into all of that, let's talk about how did you get here? What brought you to glutathione?
It sort of fell in my lap when I first graduated from naturopathic medical school. Had studied glutathione. I was very interested in detoxification. Just the human detoxification system was just a fascinating system of the body that a lot of people didn't talk about, but appeared to be so foundational to everything happening in terms of health and wellness and disease. And glutathione is so central to that whole detoxification process. And so I was introduced to it. And then one of my first patients I ever had, I had my little new office, and one of my first patients was a heroin addict, a recovering heroin addict. And I did all of the tests, everything I knew, all the functional medicine testing and treatments. And he said, of all of the things, glutathione has had the most profound impact on me. And so that, stuck with me. And then one of my nephews, one of my dear nephews, was diagnosed with autism. And this was years ago. And I kept telling my sister, we need to get glutathione into this boy. But at the time, it was, injections or liposomal form, which didn't taste good. I couldn't get my patients to continue taking the liposomal form, even if it was good for them. And so patient compliance was a real issue. And so there was no way my little nephew was going to take it or that my sister was going to give it to him. And so it was something, and my sister reminds me today, you've been working on this for, 18 years because you wanted a way for him to be able to take it that would work. Now, fast forward, he's now, 18 and he calls it Gina juice. The Vitamin G Pixie Sticks. Yeah, which is just, I love that. And so we found a way. We found a way. But really, that's where, so it started with one of my first patients, and then with my nephew, my interest in detoxification. And then I was director of research for standard process nutrition. And that kind of started my nutritional supplement career. And I created their entire purification program, which is still in existence, used by thousands and thousands and thousands of doctors and patients. And so I had interest in detoxification. I published a book about it. And so I was hired by a company that had a glutathione ingredient, and they wanted me to research it in my practice, speak about it at medical conferences, and so forth. And so because I was hired, I was able to really take that time, to do a deep dive. A lot of doctors don't have the time or energy to go and look into this. And so I did, and I was amazed by what I was seeing and what I was researching. I didn't realize there were, over 100,000 clinical research studies on glutathione alone. And now I was introduced to a form that was proven to be bioavailable in oral form without it being liposomal or tasting gross. And I was like, this is something. And so that kind of introduced me into that world. So I started speaking on it, the role of glutathione for the use with neuroinflammation, a lot of talk about its role in cognitive decline, and so forth. And then fast forward, COVID hit, and I'm homeschooling my daughter, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, how am I going to get glutathione into her? Just kind of a preventive and something to support her health and well-being. We didn't know a lot about COVID at the time, but there was some research that came out showing that it could prevent a severe reaction to COVID. And that was the inspiration. It was my daughter. At the end of the day, for formulating the Pixie Sticks, I was like, that's it. I'm going to create a formula we're going to hack sugar. I loved Pixie Sticks as a kid. I'm going to make it taste like a Pixie Stick, have it be easy for people to take. First and foremost, it was for kids. I wanted something that would support kids' immune health, and I created a formula to support intracellular glutathione levels and really keep those levels balanced. So it's not just glutathione, it's a complete formula. And then that was it. I created the formula, sent it to the lab, got it back, and it tasted amazing right off the bat. And so I'm like, okay. And so I've been working on this for a long time. And now we have vitamin G. That's it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I know glutathione is called the master antioxidant. Well, what does that really mean? Probably most people have never heard that term.
Right, right. So, well, what's an antioxidant? Basically, you have toxins that you're exposed to in the environment that your own body, your own immune system will create to fight off things. So it's not, toxins aren't always bad, but you have toxins that you're exposed to. And antioxidants are compounds found in nature that neutralize those toxins, or they're also referred to as free radicals, singlet oxygen, that cause damage to your DNA, damage to your mitochondria, the powerhouse of your cells. And so these antioxidants, and glutathione is not the only one, but it's just considered like the powerhouse antioxidant within the body, neutralizes those free radicals to render them inactive, and then helps with clearing them out of your body through the human detoxification system. And so they're very important. Glutathione's naturally occurring in the body. It's manufactured in every cell in your body. And I'm just always amazed that more people don't know about it. You were mentioning most people, like if you're not in the health world, like healthcare practitioner world, most people don't know about it. But I will tell you, just from giving lectures to physicians and pharmacists for years, a lot of doctors aren't aware of it, or they heard about it, but they haven't heard enough about it to actually use it in their practice. And so I would say even healthcare practitioners aren't well versed, a lot of them, in the use of glutathione. So, which is again, is shocking to me because it's so foundational to health and balancing the inflammatory process and supporting detoxification and supporting the liver detoxification pathways and clearance of hormones and toxins and so forth from the body.
Right. So I know that glutathione is actually a number of peptides that our body manufactures in and of ourselves. And I want to get back to that. But first, I want to say, well, why, if we manufacture glutathione, why would we need to supplement with it?
Right. So what happens is as we get older and as we're exposed to more and more toxins in the environment, or if our body's producing them to fight off a viral infection or a fungal infection or mold or whatnot, our levels of glutathione get depleted. And so there becomes a deficiency of glutathione, and you need a certain amount within your cells to keep everything balanced and in check. There's also some genetic defects that makes it hard for people to manufacture glutathione or utilize glutathione in a healthy way. And so there's different reasons, sometimes certain deficiencies in certain amino acids that make up glutathione can make it so that your body isn't able to manufacture enough or sustain enough active glutathione within your cells. And so
How would someone know that they have a deficiency in glutathione?
So that's where symptoms wise, I mean, it can be across the board. That's the thing, if you're having trouble fighting off infections, if you have foggy thinking, if you're challenged with a variety of different health conditions, autoimmune conditions, and so forth, chances are you are in need of some glutathione. And so when I was formulating this product, I was researching, okay, if we lived in a perfect world and you lived in a bubble where you weren't exposed to the toxins we're all exposed to, and you weren't fighting off the infections that we're all, battling all the time due to what we're exposed to. And if you ate a perfect diet, like the ideal diet, what would be the amount of glutathione, that would be in your cells, inside your cells doing what it needs to do, right? And so when you look at that, we don't live in a perfect world and we don't eat a perfect diet. The quality, we all know the quality of our food is not what it needs to be. And so that's where, to me, supporting what the body knows how to do and knows how to utilize is very, very important on a day-to-day basis. I've always said with detoxification, you know, I understand the role of, the 21-day purification program, juice fasting, water fasting, all these things. Great. They're all great. But what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What are you putting into your diet and lifestyle to handle what you're exposed to on a day-to-day basis? So really working with the body daily to support those detoxification pathways. Because once those get bogged down, that's when you start to have problems. And it can be I mean, that's why I'm like, why doesn't everybody know about this? Because it impacts the human detoxification system so profoundly. And when that system gets bogged down, you have inflammation, you have neuroinflammation, you have compromised immune function, you have all of those, a variety of different symptoms that, um, if your glutathione levels were where they ought to be, you wouldn't necessarily be battling all of these different challenges. So,
I think that you are absolutely right when you talk about how detoxification is so misunderstood, that it is not, it really should be the foundation of all of our health knowledge, right? Because if
yes,
you're not detoxifying all of these insults and assaults that are coming into your body all the time, then that's when the problems really start because your body's processes aren't going to be able to function well because of because you're, as you said, clogged up the system. There's too much in there.
right,
Can
right. I
you
mean,
can you tell us a little bit more about what these detoxification systems are and how they function?
so the human detoxification system is comprised of a variety of different organs, your liver, your kidneys, your skin, your lymphatic system, your colon. So all of these are systems in the body that work in concert to remove toxins on a second by second, millisecond by millisecond basis. And it speaks to the importance of it. We have this system in our body that is comprised of so many different organs for the purpose of getting rid of the gunk that doesn't allow it to operate smoothly, for a lack of a better way to say it. And so it's just, okay, how do we go about supporting these organ systems in a way that works with the body? What I like about glutathione is it's naturally occurring. Your body knows what to do with it. It's under tight homeostatic control, so it will only allow a certain amount into your cells. So more is not better. I'm always saying more glutathione is not better. Better glutathione is better, right? Whether you're getting it from your diet or you're taking steps to minimize your exposure to toxins, whether it's through water filtration or air filtration, all of those things will help to make it so your glutathione levels don't get depleted in the first place, right? But then why not, if you're going to supplement, why not supplement with something that the body recognizes and knows what to do with and uses it very specifically for detoxifying? So,
Yes. And so I'm going to say peptides are having a moment right now,
yeah,
right?
they
Like
are.
they're
Yes, they
right?
sure
They're
are.
everywhere. I've done
Yeah,
several
I
podcast
know.
interviews about peptides,
It's
but
crazy.
glutathione is also
Yeah.
composed of peptides.
Yeah, glutathione is a tripeptide. It's a combination of three amino acids that work together, glycine, glutamic acid, cysteine, um, to support detoxification and happen to be found in every cell of your body. Glutathione is very important for protecting the mitochondria of the cells. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cells. When you talk about cellular energy, like true energy, you look at the mitochondria. And what I always found interesting was guess where free radicals, those toxins, guess where they tend to congregate? Right in the powerhouse of our cells. That's where they go. But the body, in its innate wisdom, has glutathione there in the mitochondria to help stave off that. And so it's just a matter of when your cells become overburdened by modern life, the stresses of modern life almost like demand that we do things like take glutathione to support our mitochondria.
I've often heard in the past from other natural health practitioners about taking glutathione, particularly when you are facing a health challenge, like when you have COVID or when you have a cold or another viral infection that you're trying to get rid of. But you're saying that maybe we should be supplementing with glutathione more frequently than just when we are already sick.
Yeah, it has to do with the form of the glutathione that you're using. Are you taking the other nutrients that are necessary to maintain active or reduced glutathione levels in your cells? So there's a cycle that happens in your body. You have active glutathione, or it's called reduced glutathione. And then you're exposed to some toxins. Your body uses the glutathione to help support getting rid of those toxins, and then it becomes oxidized. But then the body, in its wisdom, recycles itself, recycles that glutathione back to an active form. However, it uses nutrients and cofactors to allow that to happen. And so things like zinc and the B vitamins become very important, magnesium, because if you take a bunch of glutathione only, what's happening, right? Your body is going to use it. And then when it's recycling that glutathione back to the active form, you can become deficient in certain nutrients as a consequence, right? And so it's again being real mindful of what you're doing. And yes, that's where the dosage is important. If you're taking something daily, that if you lived in a perfect world, understanding how much the body manufactures and understanding, what you would get from your diet, and if you weren't exposed to too many toxins, what is that amount, and it's kind of like supplementing in that way versus you need to go get a high dose IV of glutathione, and that's going to keep you healthy. What I've noticed is when you do that, there's like a point of diminishing return. At first, people feel really good, and then it's like they're like it's doesn't they don't notice the benefits anymore. And part of it is because you're depleting your cells of these other nutrients that are essential for maintaining that cycle. So it's like, what can you be doing day to day in a balanced way, not requiring your body to process more than it needs to and adding more of a burden, right? I'm a fan of that. So,
And those pixie sticks that you've developed, those include those cofactors and other nutrients, correct?
right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So that the whole idea behind the vitamin G formula is to support healthy levels of glutathione within the cells on a day-to-day basis. That's the goal. So,
And there's no danger of overdosing on glutathione. The body will naturally absorb what it needs to and not what it doesn't.
I would say just with even with all supplements, more is not better, like what I was
Hmm.
saying. And just like I had mentioned, too much glutathione, you can start to deplete your cells of really important minerals like zinc, which is extremely important for immune function, among other things. And so I wouldn't say that it just gets rid of it and it's no big deal. No, but again, when you kind of look at doses that are related to what you would get if you were eating a healthy diet and not being stressed all the time and not living in our modern world, you know, supplementing with that amount, it supports those cellular, intracellular glutathione levels. And so, um, of course, there could be a risk if you take too much of depleting your body of essential nutrients. And then, I mean, there's with all, like I said, with all supplements, I always recommend working with a qualified, licensed healthcare professional who truly understands these supplements and understands how to navigate, different interactions and things like that.
Good advice. Good advice. So let's talk about cellular resistance. How does vitamin G contribute to increasing our cellular resistance?
Yeah, or cellular resilience. Really, it's
Oh, resilience. Thank you.
yeah,
Yes.
resilience. And so by supporting those mitochondria, because glutathione goes right to the mitochondria, the powerhouse of our cells, where those free radicals congregate. That's one of the ways that it helps to maintain cellular resilience, helps to support the powerhouse of our cells, where energy is produced. When you talk about anti-aging, if you just, whittle it down to like the most important thing, it's mitochondrial health. It's
Hmm.
it's maintaining that cellular energy. So,
Right. And longevity, right?
right.
These two kind of buzzwords that are going on
Yeah.
right now, the anti-aging and the longevity. And it all really comes back to, let's just say, those free radicals that are going on in your body. And if left unaddressed, they contribute to the breakdown of our functions and our cellular walls and everything else that kind of visibly happens as part of aging.
Yes. Glutathione is also very important for hormone balance. And so when we talk about aging for women going through those perimenopausal years where hormones are all over the place, glutathione is very important to liver detoxification or liver clearance of hormones. And so even for hormonal balance, glutathione plays a very important role. Yeah.
Not to mention, if you happen to like to drink alcohol,
Oh
you
yeah.
really want to make sure
That's
that liver is functioning and clearing out what it doesn't need to
my
have.
patients do like the pixie sticks when they go out and drink. I don't advocate drinking at all. But if they are going to drink, they love the pixie sticks because they don't get the hangover. Yeah. And
So
so
a
it's
drinking recovery tool.
yeah, I have a funny picture of somebody who was using the pixie sticks, and it's like he didn't know he was having his picture taken, and he was at a bar, and there was an alcoholic drink, right, in one hand, and literally like a handful of the glutathione pixie sticks in the other hand. I'm like, well, that's one way to do it. I mean, you could save money and at time by not drinking the alcohol, and then you'll take all these pixie sticks. But yes, glutathione is something even hospitals turn to when somebody comes in highly intoxicated. They will, do either glutathione suppository or an IV push as a way to clear out the alcohol quicker. So
And glutathione, one of the precursors is NAC, is that correct?
cysteine, yes, yes.
So, what would be the difference of taking NAC or cysteine instead of taking the whole glutathione?
So I'm always like, okay, I like to streamline things and, like cut to the chase and just go direct as much as possible, right? And so the challenge, so cysteine can be very beneficial. It's less expensive. It's one of the peptides in this tripeptide, right? So you are giving your body one of the elements it needs in order to manufacture the glutathione. But what about
Hmm.
the glycine, and the glutamic acid? And so and then also some people have trouble manufacturing glutathione when they take cysteine, right? And so for those reasons, and because I became familiar with a patented form of glutathione that actually gets absorbed in oral form and is bioavailable to the cells, my philosophy was go straight, give the glutathione direct. But NAC can be helpful. It's one way to help with the body's manufacture of glutathione, provided you have the other elements there as well, and you don't have a genetic defect.
Right. I was going to say that's probably a lot of DNA that tells how well you clear things through your body. And what we know about epigenetics is that even if you have those genes, it doesn't mean that you are sentenced to a life of non-clearance. It means that if you understand how to support those genes appropriately, that you can have them manifest beneficially instead of negatively.
Yes, yes. Gosh, years ago, I was writing a paper, I think, and I came across research, and it's been proven over and over again up to this day. But treating a micronutrient deficiency is as important, if not more important, than a genetic predisposition to disease. And so by identifying and treating a micronutrient deficiency, you can turn off those disease promoting genes and turn on the disease preventing genes. And so you start to go, okay, just because and with all the genetic testing, I'm always like cautious with that, right? Because I don't want patients to think, oh my gosh, now this is going to be my life. I'm for sure going to get this condition or this condition because I have the genetic defect. No, no, that's not true, right? And so the genetics is one part of it. But understanding how the body works and understanding the role that these nutrient deficiencies play in disease is so important. And that we have these disease promoting switches and these disease preventing switches. And there are ways to turn on those disease preventing switches, one of which is treating micronutrient deficiencies. So basically making sure you're well nourished, like truly well nourished.
Right. I used to give lectures in home ec classes in schools, and I would say, okay, well, nutrients are more important than you might realize. What do we call an iron deficiency? Well, we call it anemia. What do we call a vitamin C deficiency? Well, we call it scurvy. What do we call a vitamin D deficiency? We might call it rickets. Like these are preventable. Like you can
Yeah.
actually just make sure you're taking the nutrients and you don't have to suffer from this disease.
Yeah. I mean, it's very common. This type of medicine, it's common sense. It's common sense medicine. It's like getting back to, okay, how does the body function? What does it need? And giving it what it needs, and then removing those barriers to cure. A big one is toxins.
Yes.
Toxins bog down the system and make it harder for your body to get back to a place of balance. So what can you do day to day? And I always say, like, do one thing. Whether it's, okay, I'm going to really focus on water filtration, or I'm going to focus on not drinking out of plastic water bottles or whatever
Mhm.
but like just consciously doing something every day. I'm going to go do sauna therapy, whatever it is. One thing every day that is supporting your body's detoxification system. So you're working with your body. Your body is incredibly wise. Work with it. And then, understand that that's going to help you to stay healthy and well.
I think that that is so much more important than finding a drug to alleviate whatever symptoms you might be having, to
Yeah.
get down to why are you having those symptoms, to look at what's going on in the body.
Right, right. And then, then very likely if you have to take a particular medication for a period of time or whatnot, guess what? My chances are it's going to work a lot better if your body is truly balanced. It's going to be more effective. So, I'm not anti-medication. When it's needed. We don't live in a perfect world. There are too many stresses of modern day life, and we need to be real about that. And so, but why not do everything you can to work with your body and support what it knows how to do innately? And then, as needed, if you need to take a prescription or you need surgery or whatever the case may be, you're very likely to get a much better outcome. So,
Well, that seems like a really good note for us to start to wrap this up. How can people find you? Where can they learn more about you and vitamin G?
sure. So for my practice, it's drgina.com, drgina.com. I work with clients all over the country. And then for the Vitamin G Pixie Sticks, it's vitaming.com.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Gina, thank you so much for coming on today. I think this has been very enlightening, and I'm sure a lot of people will be out there wondering why they've never heard of this vitamin and why it's missing from their routines and what it can do to help them live a healthier life without inflammation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's another case filed on the Inflammation Investigator. Remember, every symptom is your body's way of communicating. We just need to learn the language. If today's episode sparked something for you, I want to hear about it. Share your own investigation discoveries with me on social media at Elizabeth Yarnell, or find me at elizabethyarnell.com. Your experience could be exactly what another listener needs to hear. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And here's the thing about investigations: they work best when you're not going it alone. If this podcast is helping you uncover the answers you've been searching for, please like, rate, subscribe, and review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. As a new podcast, these actions mean more than you know. Want to dive deeper into your own inflammation investigation? Head over to inflammationinvestigator.com, where you can take my free inflammation quiz to uncover which hidden triggers might be affecting your health. Until next time, this is Elizabeth Yarnell, your inflammation investigator, reminding you that the solutions to your health issues are out there. Let's find them together.